Hey everybody, I'm Jason and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at this 1996 Suzuki LT80, which is a kid's quad. It arrived here partially disassembled and I really don't know how long it's been taken apart. I did my due diligence. I cleaned the carburetor out, I checked for spark, it had spark, and then I put the compression tester on it. And unfortunately, it only had about 50 pounds of compression at the cylinder. It should probably be closer to 150. So therein lies the problem. What actually happened is the oil injection pump failed, which eventually wore the cylinder, the piston and cylinder out in the rings. That oil is very important to keep everything lubed. I was able to find a complete rebuild kit on Amazon, of all places. It comes with the piston, cylinder, rings, wrist pin, bearings, all of the gaskets. It's a complete rebuild kit. So I've never bought one of these things before. It actually doesn't look too bad. The castings look nice. I don't know, let's give it a shot, right? Because really there's not much available for these bikes anymore. What I'm going to do is spend just a little bit of time. I'm going to measure up all the components, make sure that they are to factory spec, and then I'm going to install it back into the bike and hope that it starts right up. I think it will. So there you go. I hope you enjoy it. Let's take a look, see what's going on here. Let's start with the head. Not that bad. Surface looks good. There's no staining, so I don't see any leaking there. There's the gasket, head gasket. I don't see any sign of blow by there. I don't think that was the problem. Let's take a look at the cylinder. Base gasket must still be on the bike. I'll take that in a sec. Once again, that doesn't look too bad. Geez, that looks pretty good too. Oh, there's a pretty big lip there though. Pretty big lip. That's probably wore down. Yeah, that's a lot of wear on that, I'd say. Let's take a look at the piston. A little bit of staining on the piston. Nothing terrible though, certainly not scarred up. Huh. Whew. Yeah, that's, if you can see that, that's pretty thin right there. Pretty thin, it's wore down on this side here. Wow. You see that? The difference in thickness between that side and that side? Yeah. Let's take a look and see how it fits in here. Yeah. So, look at the end gap there. It's huge. Yeah, those end gaps are way too big. Check the manual, but those should be in the thousandths of an inch, not the fractions of an inch, eighth of an inch. Yeah, let me go check on that spec, but I'm sure that's way too big. So yeah, there's where all the compression's going. Okay, I just jumped ahead a little bit. This is the new set that came in, and these are the new rings and the new bore, and you can see how tight that gap between the rings is in there. It's you know, it's less than a millimeter, far less than a millimeter, so that's the way it's supposed to look. Okay, so the new stuff looks very similar to the old stuff. You know, everything, it almost looks, you know, it almost looks like it came from the same mold, to be honest with you.
know, the heads are just so similar. Everything looks good. Piston, like I say, all the parts for the complete top end came here. They even sent studs. So there's the gaskets. There's the little wrist pin still sealed up. Even sent me a cheap spark plug. Brand new bearing for inside the piston. You know, honestly, this stuff looks as good as I'd expect it to come from the original manufacturer. Although I guess there's things that you probably can't tell, right? The quality of the aluminum, etc. But you know, but for $100, it's a kid's quad, right? It's gotta do. I mean, if it lasts a couple of years, we're doing good. I mean, really, it's a couple tanks of gas in today's world. So here we go. Let's put this new stuff all back together and see if we can get it back in the bike and running. So this ships with some kind of a spring to give the lower ring a little bit more push. Not sure how much push that little spring's going to be able to give it, but we'll put it in and see what happens. When you put these in, you have to be aware that there's a little pin where the rings have to seat into, okay? And then the rings have that little kind of offset to so that they don't rotate around, right? There's only 2 rings. Now, as far as I can tell, these are absolutely identical, so you can't really say one's for the top, one's for the bottom. So I will just put them in. There is a little bit of printing on them, standard, so you put that up to the top. Okay, so I have big fat farmer fingers and no real fingernails, so I have to use whatever I can find to get these things in place. Okay, see that it's on there right on the pin. Perfect. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little race back in there. It's soaked in 2-stroke oil, okay? Never put this stuff in dry. And then we'll put the piston on like so. Now I've got this cloth in here because as sure as anything, as soon as I try to put in a piston clip, it's gonna fall. Like there's pretty much no way around it. I've also got the first clip in the other side, so I can't push this pin through. Not that I probably could, but there we go. Now you'll also see I've got the mark, the arrow on the top goes to the exhaust side. At least that's what the manual says. Now we'll fight with this little clip for a couple minutes and get it in place. Like I say, I don't have very delicate hands, so this stuff is always a bit of a challenge to me. Oh, that wasn't so bad. Awesome. You want to absolutely make sure that that thing's seated properly. And it is. Okay, pull the rag out. Now, before I did this, I put some 2-stroke oil down on the bearing on the big end. Just, I mean, it's been sitting for a while. It's been running without for a little bit, so it's dry. Got to make sure everything's covered. Now the next thing is these rings have moved. They're not on their pins anymore, so you've got to readjust them. Wherever there's one pin. And where's the other one? Right there. Okay, so one is there. And the other one is there. We'll just have to keep an eye on those when we put the cylinder back on. I cleaned up this surface really, really carefully, and we'll just slip this base gasket back on. Careful. I don't want to rip it. You know, they're not the same quality as the originals, that's for sure. Awesome. All right, so this is my least favorite part of this. Trying to line everything up and keep those piston rings in on their pin. So it's lined up. Okay, so that was a bit of a struggle, but it's on. All right, everything's in place. The rings are in the proper spot, so we're just gonna slide that home, just like so. Yeah, make sure it's well coated. It's gonna smoke a bit when it starts. That's okay. At least it's not gonna wear out right away. Okay, let's slip this head gasket on. Brand new head. I won't use the new studs, but I will use the new nuts. The old ones were pretty rusty. I just start them with this magnet, just a little bit easier. Put the first few threads on. Okay, let's go look up the torque specs and see what they're supposed to be. I just popped the side off of the engine because that oil injection pump isn't working at all. What we're going to do is just delete it, and they're going to have to use pre-mixed gas in this from now on. So I'm going to remove this little drive piece so that the pump doesn't turn anymore. So I'll still keep all of the rubber on it just so there's no air leaks. But the thing won't work. So by taking that off, that drives the pump. Now the pump won't get driven at all. Okay, I got the gas tank back on. I just ran a new fuel line. The other one was really hard. So before I try to start this, the first thing I did was empty it out the float bowl because that just has regular gas in it, not two-stroke. And the gas tank itself has two-stroke in it. It's just my chainsaw mix, 50-to-1. Everything should be fine. I'm getting spark. Well, I haven't checked, but hopefully I have compression, but the whole thing looks new. Now, if this thing does start, I'm only gonna let it run for just a couple of seconds. Let's just give it a little quick burp, see if it, oh yeah. Gas is flowing. Everything should go. Take it just a few minutes. Brand new top end, so I really don't want to run it for more than a few seconds. Like it's warmed up a little bit, so I'll let it cool down. I'll let it warm up. I'll let it cool down, and we'll get there.
For those that may have noticed, I actually did go back and rebuild the rear clutch on this thing and put in a new rear brake, but I'll leave that for another video. That's all I've got for today, so thank you very much for watching, and if you like this kind of stuff, I'd appreciate it if you would please subscribe.